Now, from WBRZ News 2, this is Tune In.
Good morning, South Louisiana. We're glad you could tune in on this Friday, July 24th. I'm John Pasterek. My partner, Kylie Dixon's going Italian this morning. We'll check in with her again in just a moment. But first, our coverage of the Lafayette movie theater shooting continues.
We will get through this. We're a resilient community. This is an awful night for Lafayette. This is an awful night for Louisiana. This is an awful night for the United States. But we will get through this.
Last night, a gunman started shooting inside the Grand movie theater, killing 2 people, injuring at least 9 others before killing himself. Police say the shooter, only described as a 58-year-old white man, was into the showing of the movie Trainwreck. At least 100 moviegoers were inside the theater at the time. Coming up, we'll have live reports and reaction from Lafayette and detail the heroic acts of people inside the theater at the time of the shootings. But we're starting the weekend with more of the Louisiana Bayou Bake. Man, we're going to see some really hot temperatures this afternoon. Josh joins us with more.
Yeah, we're going to see those upper 90s once again, JP, and then we get into this weekend. We're not going to rule out some triple digits into the forecast.
Triple digits, wow.
Let's show you where we made it to yesterday, because today will run very similar. It was 96 in Baton Rouge, 99 in Hammond. See, that goes to show we'll get close in some spots to 100 degrees. 97 in Macomb and Bogalusa. And have a look at it, the 90-degree almanac, if you will. That was day number 23. Every day in July has made it above 90 degrees, and we've now had 16 in a row over 94. Average for this time of year is 92, so we'll say 16 straight days with above average warmth. Right now, we are in the capital city. We are at 79 degrees. Temperatures do not look like they'll be falling below 78, so this will be a record-setting 8th straight day with a low temperature at 78 degrees or above. That is a warm start to the morning. Warm drive this morning. Crank the AC in the car. 85 by 9, 91 by 11, and we'll be feeling like 100 degrees by noontime. 3-day forecast goes like this, just a touch warmer. Cranking that oven knob a little bit more as we get into Saturday and Sunday. 99 and 98 with 30% rain chances, meaning a quick shower may pass by in the afternoon, but that is about it, and many locations will stay dry. Got an accident this morning at Coursey and Stumberg. That was at 5:50 at the Plaquemine Ferries Open. And let's go ahead and take a look at those interstate cameras. And well, there's the bridge. It looks fine. I-10 at City Place looks pretty good too. Good news on our Friday. No traffic troubles so far. More traffic and weather coming up in 10 minutes. And now let's go back to the desk with JP.
Now more in our top story. Moviegoers in Lafayette are speaking out about the horrifying moments when a night at the movies turned into tragedy.
I could have been shot. Like, I didn't know where the shooter was. I don't know where he could have been. I don't know if he could have gone into our theater and shoot us, and I was just so afraid.
Overnight, investigators checked several addresses in various states tied to the shooter. Then police say the shooter did have a criminal past, and they found suspicious items in his vehicle, so they decided to set off explosions as a precaution. Shooting happened at the Grand Theater. It's just 2 miles from the campus of UL Lafayette. News 2's Brett Buffington is live this morning from the scene with the very latest on the investigation. Hey, Brett, good morning again. You've just been speaking to investigators. What are they saying at this point?
Investigators still waiting for that 6:30 press conference to release any more details since their press conference from about 1:15 last night. I can tell you that I did speak with a witness who told me he was in the theater just across the hall from the theater where this shooting happened. He said the fire alarm went off and people in his theater really didn't take much mention to it besides doing what they were told and exiting through the exit doors of the theater. When they got outside, he says that's when he saw all the police with assault rifles. He even says he saw a woman who had been shot. That's when the chaos and the seriousness of this situation really set in for him. We'll have much more of his interview a little bit later, but I can tell you the governor here telling stories of people who were at this scene, who were at this shooting, who stepped in and did their part to make sure that their neighbors got to safety. It was a scene of panic as gunshots stopped movies playing at this Lafayette theater. This man was inside at a showing of the movie Selfless when the shooting started.
And then at that point, me personally, I was just quiet, trying to handle the situation pretty well.
He says theater workers quickly evacuated the building. The rush of people getting out met by police officers trying to get in, and the 58-year-old shooter shooting and killing himself.
The guy that was trying to help us told us, oh, be careful, there's a guy shooting inside, you got to be careful.
This should never happen anywhere, but you certainly never imagined. We never imagined what happened in Louisiana, never imagined what happened in Lafayette.
In the midst of chaos, the governor says people stopped to help others.
Just a story of heroism, just an example of what happened inside the theater. I was visiting with the several family members and friends. There was a couple of teachers that were in that movie theater tonight. Both of them were shot. One of them was released tonight. Her friend literally jumped over her, and in her account actually saved her life.
That same teacher who took a bullet to the leg pulled the building's fire alarm to get others out. The questions of why this happened and what triggered this gunman are now the center of this investigation, one that still has a lot of questions left to be answered and a community left in shock.
I wish I could just stay to protect anybody, but I couldn't, you know.
And the police chief here tells me that just by chance there were 2 police officers nearby. They were able to get here within 30 seconds to a minute of the first 911 call that got into the dispatch center here. I can tell you I'm joined by one of the guys who told me he was in the theater across the hall. And you're the one who described that as you walked outside, that's when the seriousness of this really sat in, when you saw the police officers with the guns.
Yes, sir. When we saw the police officers coming in with assault rifles, we realized this was a very serious situation, and then we heard that there was a gunman inside. We heard the chatter of the policemen, and we heard there was men down, and we had actually seen a woman lying out here on the ground with a gunshot wound in her leg, and we were just very, very scared, very saddened, just very frightening scene.
You said this happened a little after 7, between 7 and 8. You weren't allowed to go home last night until after 10.
Yes, sir. I left here last night about 10:30, got home at about 11. And
what'd you do in that time between when this all happened, when you got out of the theater? What'd you do between then and the time you were able to go home?
The cops had gathered everybody that was in this parking lot right here, and they brought us to this back corner over here, and they talked to us. They let us know what was happening. They had to check all our cars to make sure that we were not any suspect or anything. So they kind of kept us calm. They gave us drinks. And they kind of just held us here, talked to us every couple minutes, and kind of got our information and checked our cars, and then see we were good to go.
The governor said earlier tonight that he'd ever expected this to happen in the state of Louisiana. You've lived in the city your entire life. Anything you could ever imagine this happening here?
Yes, sir. Definitely never expected to come to a movie theater on a Thursday night with my brother and a friend, and have this happen over here. It's just very surreal. Never thought I'd be a part of a sad event like this.
Thanks so much, man, for sharing your story. JP, it's clear here this morning as the sun begins to come up that there is a lot of shock in this community. There are still a lot of answers that this community needs before they can start this healing process. And there are still a lot of questions to be asked about the man who walked into this theater last night, police say, and started shooting. We're live in Lafayette this morning. Brett Buffington, WBRZ News 2.
Night of fun at the movie turns into tragedy. Hey, Brett, thanks for that live report. Great job this morning. Brett Buffington on top of this story. We'll have much more throughout the morning, and also you can keep up with it at WBRZ.com. Of course, President Obama has been briefed about these shootings, and just hours before the theater shooting, President Obama expressed his frustration over gun safety in an interview with the BBC.
It is the fact that the United States of America is the one advanced nation on earth in which we do not have sufficient common sense gun safety laws, even in the face of repeated mass killings.
And the president said he'll continue working on gun safety during the remainder of his term. Well, still to come on this very busy Friday morning, it's back to Lafayette for the very latest on the theater shootings there. Investigators, as you saw in Brett's report, they are in the movie theater at this hour looking for clues, trying to piece together the investigation, and they're going to have a briefing coming up in a little bit. We're going to have more on that, as well as reaction from some of the people, some eyewitnesses who saw it come down. But right now, it is 6:10 on this TGIF. 79 degrees outside. Don't go away. Much more of Tune In our final hour after this.